The cry by the river. The night was cold and the forest was silent except for the wind. A lone man named Daniel walked along the frozen path, carrying firewood back to his small cabin. He lived alone at the edge of the woods, far from the noisy town. Life had taught him to survive with little, and silence was his closest companion. But that night, silence was broken. A faint sound drifted through the trees, thin and strange, like a cry. Daniel froze, his breath showing white in the cold air. It was not the cry of any animal he knew. Not a wolf, not a bird, not even a wounded fox. It was softer, almost like a baby, and it was coming from the river. Daniel put down the firewood, his heart beating faster. He moved carefully toward the sound, his boots crunching on ice and snow. The closer he got, the clearer the cry became, and his chest tightened. It was a baby's cry, no doubt now. But what child would be near the river at this hour, in such deadly cold? He pushed through the bushes until he reached the riverbank. The water was black and heavy, half frozen, with chunks of ice drifting by. There among the reeds, he saw something moving, a bundle of cloth, wet and half submerged. Daniel rushed forward, his hands shaking. He pulled it from the freezing water and peeled back the layers of soaked fabric. Inside was a baby, but not a human baby. The child's skin was pale silver, almost glowing under the moonlight. Her eyes, wide and trembling, shimmered with a faint golden light. Her small hands clutched at his coat, and she cried again. Daniel staggered back, his mind refusing to believe what he was holding. He had heard stories, tales of beings from beyond the stars, whispers in town that strange creatures walked unseen in the forests, but never had he seen one, never had he touched one. Now one lay in his arms, helpless and freezing. If he left her there, she would die within minutes. If he took her, his life would change forever. He stood there breathless, snow falling on, his shoulders staring at the glowing baby in disbelief. Finally, instinct took over. He wrapped her tighter in his coat and pressed her to his chest. Her cries softened, her small body warming against him. He whispered, "You'll be safe, I promise," even though he did not know how. With quick steps, he hurried back toward his cabin, checking the shadows again and again. Something deep in his bones told him he was not alone. Back in the cabin, the fire still glowed, filling the small wooden room with warmth. Daniel laid the baby on a pile of blankets near the fire. She kicked weakly, her golden eyes watching him as if she understood more than she should. He poured milk into a small cup and used a rag to let her drink. She drank eagerly, glowing brighter. With each swallow, Daniel's hands shook as he held her, but his heart softened at her tiny smile. For a moment the cabin felt alive, no longer empty, no longer silent, but his mind was heavy with questions. Who had left her in the river, and why was someone chasing her? Would they come here searching for her? And most of all, why did fate place her in his arms? Outside, the forest whispered. The wind carried faint echoes, almost like voices. Daniel looked through the window, his hand resting on the hilt of the old hunting knife he kept nearby. Snow drifted down softly, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. He turned back to the baby, who had now fallen asleep, her glow faint but steady. She looked peaceful, almost angelic, but he knew this peace would not last. Daniel sat by the fire, staring at her. He was only a simple man, not a soldier, not a hero. Yet something inside him told him this baby was important, too important to ignore. He could give her up to the authorities, but deep down, he knew they would take her away, and she would never be safe. He could leave her in the forest, but that thought made his heart ache. No, he decided, he would protect her no matter what. Hours passed, the cabin warm, the storm outside growing harsher. Daniel dozed in his chair, knife close, fire crackling, baby breathing softly. But in the dead of night, he woke suddenly. A sound outside, faint but sharp. Footsteps, too heavy to be the wind, too careful to be an animal. Daniel rose slowly, every sense awake. He peered out through a crack in the door. At the edge of the woods, two tall shadows moved among the trees, figures walking slowly, searching, and Daniel realized with a chill, they were not human. The story of the baby had only begun. Morning light crept through the cracks of Daniel's cabin. The storm had passed, leaving the forest covered in thick snow. Inside, the fire had died to embers, but warmth still lingered. Daniel sat on the floor staring at the glowing baby bundled in blankets. She was sleeping peacefully, her small chest rising and falling, her skin still carrying that faint silver shine. For hours he could not take his eyes off her. Every time she moved, every tiny sound she made, Daniel felt his heart twist. She was not human, but in his arms she felt no different from any helpless child, and in his heart he knew she needed him. He fed her again with warm milk, watching how she drank eagerly. This time, her glow brightened with each sip, filling the dim cabin with soft golden light. Daniel frowned, realizing that anyone outside in the forest could have seen that light through the cracks. If those shadows he had seen last night were real and not his imagination, then they would surely come closer. He needed to be careful. He closed the shutters tight, covering them with old cloth. Then he piled wood on the fire so no one would notice the glow inside. The baby cooed softly, reaching her tiny glowing fingers toward him. Daniel felt a strange comfort as he let her grip his finger, but deep inside, unease grew heavier. All day he kept her hidden. He barely stepped outside, only once to bring in more wood. When he did, he noticed footprints in the snow near the tree line. Too large and too deep to belong to a human, his pulse quickened. Someone or something had been there, watching. That night, as the baby slept, Daniel sat by the fire with his old hunting rifle resting across his knees. He whispered to himself, "I can't let them take her." But his mind screamed with questions. Who were they? And why was this baby in the river? What was she to them? And what danger would come to him for keeping her? By the third day, whispers spread in the nearby village. When Daniel went into town for flour and salt, he overheard two men talking at the trading post. "Strange lights in the forest," one said, "like lanterns moving where no one lives." "Bad omen," the other muttered. "Maybe spirits walking at night." Daniel's hands tightened around his sack of flour. He knew the light was not spirits. It was the baby, glowing in his cabin. If people in town grew curious, more trouble would come. He hurried back to the forest, snow crunching under his boots, his eyes scanning the trees. Every step felt heavier with fear. When he finally reached the cabin, the baby was awake and crying, her glow stronger than before. He rushed to her side, whispering, "Shh, you must be quiet." But how could he expect a baby to hide? She was too small to understand. And yet she stared at him with golden eyes that seemed far older than her tiny body. That night, Daniel noticed something unusual. When he held her close, her glow dimmed, until it was barely visible. But when he laid her alone in the blankets, the glow returned stronger. It was as if she wanted to stay hidden when in his arms. Daniel did not know how, but the baby seemed to trust him completely. Days passed. Daniel's cabin turned from silent loneliness into a place of constant watchfulness. Every sound outside made him reach for his rifle. Every crack of branches made his heart race. Yet in the quiet moments when the baby smiled or cooed softly, he felt peace he had not known in years. She gave him purpose again, something worth protecting. But peace did not last one evening. As the snow turned red under the setting sun, Daniel went outside to cut firewood. That was when he saw it. Deep claw marks scratched into a tree not far from his cabin. The marks were high, far higher than he could reach. His blood ran cold. Whatever had left those marks was no wolf, no bear, and certainly no man. He carried the wood inside quickly and locked the door. The baby stirred at his nervous movements. Glowing faintly, Daniel whispered, "I won't let them take you." Though his hands trembled as he checked his rifle again and again, that night as the storm winds howled, he thought he heard voices. Not human voices. Low, harsh, guttural sounds drifting through the trees. The baby whimpered in her sleep, as if she too could hear them. Daniel held her tightly, rocking her gently until she calmed, but the unease in his chest grew sharper. On the 6th night since finding her, Daniel's fears came true. The sound of footsteps returned, heavier and closer this time. Through a crack in the shutter, he saw movement. 2 tall figures, cloaked and silent, standing at the edge of the clearing. They did not step closer, but he could feel their gaze fixed on his cabin. They knew she was here, and they were waiting. Daniel sat in the dark, rifle ready, baby in his arms. He did not sleep. He did not move. All night long, the 2 figures stood in the snow, watching his cabin. By morning, they were gone, leaving. Only strange tracks pressed deep into the white earth. Daniel's resolve hardened. He would protect this child no matter who came for her. But in his heart, he knew the fight was only beginning. The forest was restless. Daniel felt it long before the knock came at his door. For 3 nights, the tall figures had circled his cabin, never stepping inside, always waiting. He had barely slept, his rifle always near, the alien baby clutched, close to him. Her glow dimmed whenever he held her, almost as if she wanted to hide with him. But no matter how hard she tried, Daniel knew those shadows could sense her. That night, snow fell heavy. The wind cutting through the trees like a knife. Daniel was feeding the baby, whispering soft words when it happened. A sudden knock. 3 slow, heavy thuds on the wooden door. His breath caught, his muscles froze. No traveler would come at this hour, not in this storm, not this deep in the woods. The baby whimpered, her glow flickering brighter. Daniel hushed her, holding her close, his heart pounding. The knock came again, louder this time, shaking the wood. Daniel rose, rifle in hand, and called out, "Who's there?" His voice trembling but steady enough. Silence followed, broken only by the howling wind. Then a voice, low, strange, filled with echoes. "We seek the child." Daniel's blood ran cold. He backed away from the door, clutching the baby tighter. The voice came again. "Open. Human. The child is ours." Daniel whispered. "No, not yours." He glanced at the window, wondering if he could escape through the back. But when he peeked outside, 2 tall figures stood there too, their glowing eyes watching. There was no escape. They had surrounded the cabin. Slowly, Daniel lifted the bar from the door, his rifle aimed. The door creaked open, snow swirling inside. 2 figures stepped in, towering over him. They were women, though not human women, their faces sharp, skin a pale blue that shimmered in the firelight. Their armor gleamed with strange symbols, and their eyes glowed faint silver. Daniel raised his rifle. "Stay back." The taller one lifted her hand, palm open. "We will not harm you, human." Her voice was calm but heavy with power. The other woman stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the baby. "The child belongs to us." Daniel shook his head, pulling the baby closer. "I found her in the river. She would be dead if not for me." The women exchanged a glance, then the taller one spoke. "You do not understand. She is no ordinary child. She is heir to a fallen bloodline, and enemies will kill to end her life." Daniel's grip tightened, his mind racing. He had expected monsters, hunters, but these women looked more like warriors, carrying both strength and sorrow in their eyes. Then why was she left to drown? Daniel asked sharply. The second woman lowered her head. "We were attacked, her guardian slain. We searched but thought her lost to the waters." Her voice cracked with pain, and for a moment, Daniel almost believed her. Still, something in him refused to let go. "If she is yours, why do I feel she needs me?" he said quietly. The taller woman stepped closer, her silver eyes narrowing. "Because she chose you, human. She clings to your warmth, but that bond will bring you nothing but death if you defy her enemies." The baby stirred then, opening her golden eyes. She looked at the women, then turned, back to Daniel, reaching her tiny hand for his beard. Her glow brightened as if she were making a choice. Both women froze, shock flashing across their faces. "The bond," one whispered. "It is real," Daniel frowned. "What bond?" The taller one said, "Our kind does not bond with humans, yet she has." It means she will not leave you willingly, not even if we command it." Her words carried both awe and fear. Daniel looked down at the child, her golden eyes watching him with trust. He felt something shift inside him, a heavy truth pressing down. This child was now his responsibility, and not even these warriors could take her away. Silence stretched in the cabin, broken only by the crackle of the fire. Finally, the taller woman spoke. "You cannot keep her hidden alone. Hunters will come, more dangerous than we. You must decide, human. Will you fight with us or against us?" Daniel's grip on his rifle loosened slightly, but his jaw tightened. He did not trust them fully, not yet. But one thing was certain. Danger was closing in, and his quiet life was gone forever. He stepped back, baby still in his arms, his voice low but steady. "If enemies come, I'll fight. But until I know, your hearts, she stays with me." The women exchanged another look, their glowing eyes unreadable. The second one sighed. "So be it, human, but know this. You have stepped into a war you cannot imagine." Daniel stood tall, though his legs trembled. The baby pressed her face against his chest, glowing brighter. The women turned toward the door, snow swirling around them as they left into the night. But before stepping out, the taller one looked back and said, "They will come soon, and when they do, neither your rifle nor your walls will save you." The door closed, leaving Daniel alone once more. He stared into the fire, the baby in his arms. His world had changed, and he could never go back. Enemies would come, warriors would return, and the fate of a glowing alien child now rested in his hands. The night was far from over. The forest stayed quiet for 2 days after the strange women left. Daniel tried to believe they would not return, but deep down, he knew better. The baby never left his side, glowing faintly when she slept, brighter when she laughed. Her golden eyes followed his every move as if she understood he was her protector. And yet, with every passing hour, the weight of danger grew heavier on Daniel's shoulders. He checked the woods often, following the old hunter's habit of reading the ground. More tracks appeared, deep claw marks, broken branches, the smell of ash. He knew something unnatural walked near his cabin. He also noticed the birds had grown silent, a sure sign predators moved nearby. Every sound of the forest now felt like a warning. On the third night the knock returned. Daniel leapt up, rifle ready, heart hammering, but this time the knock was softer, almost cautious. He opened the door to find the 2 alien women again, their silver eyes glowing in the moonlight. Snow clung to their cloaks, their faces sharp, but weary. Daniel raised the rifle. "I told you she stays with me." The taller one lifted her hand slowly. "We do not come to take her, human. We come to speak." Daniel hesitated, the baby stirring in his arms, her glow softening as if she recognized them. Against his better judgment, he let them inside. The women stood near the fire, their armor scratched, their cloaks torn. Daniel noticed dried blood on one of their sleeves. Though she tried to hide it, they looked less like proud warriors now, more like hunted survivors. The shorter one finally spoke, her voice quiet but heavy. "You saved her life, and for that we owe you truth." Daniel tightened his grip on the child. "Truth about what?" The taller woman's gaze fixed on the baby. "She is no ordinary infant. She is the last blood of the Loriath clan, our ruling family destroyed by rivals. Her father slain, her mother vanished, and she, their only heir, left defenseless." Daniel frowned, the words twisting in his chest. He had heard rumors of alien clans, stories whispered by travelers but never thought them real. And now he held their last heir in his arms. "Why was she in the river?" Daniel asked, his voice sharp. The shorter woman looked away, shame in her eyes. "We failed her. We were attacked by traitors, her guardians killed, and in the chaos she was taken. When we found the trail, it ended at the river. We thought she was gone." Her voice trembled, and Daniel almost pitied her. The taller woman continued, "Our enemies believe her death will end the Loriath line forever. If they find her alive, they will burn worlds to take her. They will come here, human, and they will not stop." Daniel's jaw tightened, his eyes moving from the warriors to the child in his arms. She was small, helpless, innocent, yet her existence carried the weight of war, and now that war had found him. "Why tell me this?" Daniel asked, suspicion sharp in his tone. The taller woman's silver eyes narrowed. "Because she has chosen you, and that changes everything. She will not leave your side willingly, and if we try to force her, she will break. You are bonded now, human, whether you wish it or not." Daniel looked down at the baby, who pressed her glowing hand against his chest as if to confirm it. He felt a strange pull, something beyond choice, beyond reason. The women saw it too, their faces tense with both fear and respect. The shorter one spoke again. "We cannot protect her alone, not now. Too many hunt us. But with you, perhaps there is a chance." Daniel's voice hardened. "I am no warrior. I am a man who chops wood and hunts deer. I cannot fight a war." The taller woman stepped closer, her presence heavy. "Yet you already have. You faced us with no fear. You faced the trackers that circled your cabin. You guard her with your life. You may not be a warrior, but you are something more dangerous, someone who refuses to let go." The fire crackled between them, throwing long shadows across the walls. Daniel sat in silence. Weighing her words, he wanted to deny it, to tell them to take their heir and leave him in peace. But every time he looked at the baby's golden eyes, he knew he could not. She was his now, as much as theirs. Finally, Daniel spoke, his voice cool. "If what you say is true, then they'll come here soon, won't they?" The taller woman nodded. "Yes, their scouts already move in the forest. The claw marks you saw are theirs. They are testing your defenses before the storm falls." Daniel's blood ran cold, so he had been right. The danger was not in the future, it was already at his door. The shorter woman leaned closer to the fire, her eyes shining with a quiet plea. "We need you, human. You may not believe it, but she has bound her fate to yours, and now ours as well. If you abandon her, she dies, and with her, the last hope of our clan." The room grew heavy with silence, broken only by the baby's soft breathing. Daniel stared at the two women, at their weary armor and desperate eyes. He did not trust them fully, not yet, but he understood one truth clearly. His life was no longer his own. He stood, adjusting the baby in his arms, and met their gaze. "Then tell me what must be done, because I will not hand her over, not to you, not to anyone." The women exchanged a glance, then bowed their heads slightly. For the first time, Daniel saw respect in their eyes. The taller one said, "Then the war has truly begun." And outside in the frozen woods, unseen eyes watched the cabin with hunger. Snow fell heavy that night, blanketing the cabin until it almost vanished in the white silence. Inside, the fire burned low, and Daniel sat with the baby in his arms, the two alien women across from him. The air was thick with tension, each of them listening for sounds outside. Daniel's thoughts were a storm of fear and anger. He had not chosen this, yet fate had placed the child in his arms, and now two warriors stood before him, claiming her bloodline carried the weight of war. The baby stirred, glowing faintly, her golden eyes blinking up at him. Daniel's chest tightened. He could not abandon her no matter what these strangers said. The taller woman finally broke the silence. "The hunters will come soon. They do not forgive. They do not stop. They will burn this forest to ash if they must." Daniel looked into the fire, then back at them, his voice low but steady. "Then let them come. I will not hand her over." The shorter woman hissed in disbelief. "You are only a man. One man with an old rifle. You cannot stand against what hunts her." Daniel's eyes hardened. "I am one man, yes, but this is my home. I know these woods, I know the traps, the rivers, the cliffs, I know how to survive. If they want her, they'll have to go through me." His words carried no boast, only the calm weight of a man who had made his choice. The taller woman studied him, her silver eyes unreadable. "You do not understand the price, human. If you fight for her, your life will never be your own again," she said. Daniel shifted the baby in his arms, her tiny, glowing hand clutching his shirt. "Maybe my life stopped being my own the moment I pulled her from the river," he answered. The baby cooed softly as if she agreed, her glow brightening for a moment. The women fell silent, the crackle of the fire filling the room. Then came the sound outside, branches snapping, snow crunching under heavy steps. Daniel leapt to his feet, rifle in one hand, baby pressed close with the other. The women reached for their strange blades, their armor shifting with faint light. All eyes turned toward the door, where shadows moved against the white snow. A guttural voice echoed outside, harsh and cruel. "Give us the child, human, and we will spare your life." Daniel's heart hammered, but he shouted back, "She's not yours, she stays with me." The voice growled, mocking him. "Fool, she carries the blood of rulers. Her death means the end of their line. You protect a curse, not a child." Daniel's grip tightened on the rifle. "Call her what you like, but she is alive because of me, and no one takes her." The taller alien woman gave him a sharp look, a flicker of respect in her eyes. She whispered, "Then we fight together." The shorter one nodded reluctantly, her silver blade glowing faint in the firelight. Daniel's cabin was small, but he knew how to defend it. He had spent years building traps in the forest to protect his hunting grounds. Now those same tricks might save them all. The first attack came suddenly, a heavy crash against the door, wood splintering. Daniel moved quickly, setting the baby. In a cradle of blankets by the fire, shielding her with logs and cloth, she cried, glowing brighter. But Daniel whispered, "Stay safe, little one. I'll come back." Then he turned, rifle aimed, his jaw tight. The door burst open and shadows stormed inside. Tall figures with twisted armor, claws gleaming in the firelight, their eyes burning red. Daniel fired, the blast echoing through the cabin. One figure fell with a roar. The women leapt forward, their blades cutting through the attackers with speed and fury. The cabin became chaos. Firelight flashing, snow blowing in through the open door, blood darkening the floor. Daniel fought like a man possessed, reloading faster than he ever had. His traps snapping in the doorway, spears of sharpened wood impaling those who rushed too blindly. The alien women moved with deadly grace, their swords glowing brighter with each strike. Still, more came, their guttural cries shaking the cabin walls. Through the chaos, Daniel's eyes kept darting to the child. She watched with glowing eyes, not afraid, but calm, as if she trusted completely that he would not fail. That trust burned in his chest, driving him harder, faster, fiercer. He would not let her down. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, silence returned. The last attacker fell, the snow outside stained dark. Daniel stood panting, his rifle smoking, his hands shaking with exhaustion. The two women were bloodied, one of them limping but alive. The baby cooed softly, glowing brighter. Now, as if blessing their survival, Daniel staggered to her side, lifting her back into his arms. He pressed his forehead to hers, whispering, "I told you no one takes you." The taller woman approached, her voice quiet. "You are not just a human. You are something else. No one has ever defied them like this, and lived." Daniel looked up, sweat and blood on his face. "I'm nothing special. I'm just a man who made a choice." The shorter woman sighed, pain in her eyes. "And that choice has bound you to our fate forever." Outside, the forest was silent, the snow heavy with the bodies of the fallen. But Daniel knew this was not the end, only the beginning. The hunters would return, stronger, fiercer, and now they would come not only for the child but for him. Still, as he held the glowing baby close, he felt no regret, because in that moment, he knew. This was his child now. And he would fight the whole galaxy if he must. The cabin smelled of smoke and blood. Daniel sat near the fire, his hands trembling from the fight, the baby pressed close against his chest. The alien women tended to their wounds in silence, their faces grim, their silver eyes sharp with worry. For a moment, peace returned, but Daniel knew it was only a thin veil. The hunters would not stop, not after losing so many. They would come back, and next time they would bring more. Daniel rose to his feet, setting the baby gently in her blanket cradle. He grabbed his coat, rifle, and the pouch of old tools he kept from his hunting days. The taller woman asked, "Where are you going?" Daniel's voice was steady, though his body ached. The cabin won't hold another attack. If we wait here, we die. We need the forest. The forest is my shield." The women exchanged glances, then followed. The snow was deep, the trees tall and silent, but to Daniel the woods were alive. He knew the hidden paths, the frozen rivers, the cliffs that looked harmless until you stood too close. This was his ground, his world, and if the hunters wanted a war, they would find it here. All night Daniel worked, his hands numb from cold, but steady with purpose. He set traps high in the branches, ropes, spikes, and heavy logs balanced on thin cords. He carved sharpened stakes from young trees, burying them under layers of snow where enemies would not see. He spread ash to cover tracks, hiding their trail as they moved deeper into the forest. The alien women watched with a mix of confusion and respect, their glowing blades useless against tricks of rope and wood. The shorter woman finally asked, "These simple things, will they truly stop hunters?" Daniel looked up from tying a knot. "Maybe not stop, but slow them, confuse them, break their rhythm. I don't need to win outright, I just need them to bleed." The taller woman studied him with new eyes. "Your kind fights differently than ours. You fight like the earth itself, quiet, patient, unforgiving." Daniel did not answer, his focus sharp, his mind set only on survival. By dawn, they had moved the baby deeper into the woods, hiding her in a small cave lined with firs. Daniel sat by the entrance, rifle ready, his eyes scanning the tree line. The alien women stood nearby, swords drawn, their armor shining faint in the morning light. The baby slept peacefully despite the storm of fear around her. Her glow filled the cave softly, as if to remind them of why they fought. It was not long before the enemy came. The sound of snapping branches, guttural voices, and the crunch of heavy boots echoed through the forest. Daniel signaled the women to stay low. From the shadows, he watched the hunters spread out, their red eyes searching, their claws scraping against the trees. There were more this time, twice as many, moving in groups, their armor dark and spiked. The first one triggered a rope snare, yanked into the air with a startled cry. Before his companions could cut him down, Daniel fired, the blast tearing through the cold morning. Chaos spread as traps sprung one after another, logs swinging, down to crush, spikes tearing through armor, hidden pits swallowing the careless. The hunters roared in anger, their formation broken. The alien women rushed forward, blades flashing, cutting through the disoriented enemies with precision. Daniel moved like a shadow, firing, retreating, reloading, always leading them deeper. Into his traps, he remembered every path, every tree, every frozen stream, and used them all. One hunter slipped on hidden ice, only to meet the woman's blade across his throat. Another fell screaming into a pit lined with sharp branches, his body thrashing until still. But for every one that fell, more came. Their leader, taller than the rest, roared orders that shook the woods, driving his soldiers forward despite the blood. Daniel ducked behind a tree, his chest heaving, sweat freezing against his skin. He reloaded quickly, fired again, another fell. The forest rang with the clash of steel, the roar of beasts, the crack of rifle fire. The baby's cries echoed, faintly from the cave, her glow spilling out into the snow. The hunters turned toward it, drawn like moths to flame. Daniel's heart clenched. "No!" he shouted, sprinting toward the cave. The alien women fought to block the path, but too many broke through, rushing toward the child. Daniel reached the cave just as one hunter raised his claws. He threw himself forward, firing point blank, the blast sending the creature crashing against the rocks. The baby wailed, her glow exploding brighter than ever. Blinding the hunters nearby, the alien women seized the moment, striking down the stunned enemies, their blades cutting swift and sure. At last, silence returned. The snow was red, the ground littered with broken bodies. Daniel dropped to his knees, the baby in his arms, his chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. The women stood nearby, their armor scarred, their faces grim but alive. The taller one finally spoke, her voice heavy with respect. "You are no simple human. You fight as if the forest itself moves with you." Daniel shook his head. "I fight because I must, not because I am strong." The baby pressed her glowing hand to his chest, calming his trembling heart. The shorter woman looked at him with new eyes. She trusts you more than us, and now I see why. Daniel glanced at the forest, silent. Once more he knew this battle was only a test. The real storm was still coming, and yet as he held the child close, feeling her warmth against the cold, he whispered, "They'll have to kill me before they take you." The baby's golden eyes blinked up at him, glowing brighter, and in that moment, Daniel understood. His fight was no longer about survival. It was about family. The forest lay in silence after the battle. Snow covered the bodies of the hunters, their red eyes finally dark, their claws frozen in death. Daniel stood at the mouth of the cave, his rifle heavy in his hands, his breath clouding the cold air. Behind him, the baby glowed softly, her tiny golden eyes watching him with calm trust. The two alien women stood beside him, their armor scarred, their blades dripping with blood. For a long while none of them spoke. The crack of branches and the cry of birds slowly returned to the forest as if nature itself was waking from fear. Daniel lowered his rifle and went inside the cave, kneeling beside the child. He touched her small hand, and her glow brightened. Against his skin a strange peace filled him, stronger than any fear. The taller woman broke the silence, her voice steady but tired. "You fought as one of us, human. You faced them without fear." Daniel looked up, shaking his head. "I was afraid, but I could not let them take her. I will never let them." The shorter woman frowned, her silver eyes narrowing. "You risked everything for a child not of your blood. Why?" Daniel glanced down at the baby, who reached for his beard with glowing fingers. "She may not be my blood, but she is mine now. I found her, I saved her, and I will keep saving her." The women exchanged a look, one of surprise and something close to respect. The taller one stepped closer, bowing her head slightly. "Among our kind, such words bind stronger than steel. You have claimed her as your own, and now the bond cannot be broken." Daniel's heart pounded at her words, not from fear, but from the weight of them. A bond stronger than steel. A vow he had already made. In his heart, without speaking, night fell and they made a fire outside the cave. Daniel sat with the baby in his lap, feeding her drops of milk, watching her glow warm the darkness. The women sat nearby, tending to their wounds, speaking softly in a tongue Daniel could not understand. But every so often their eyes would drift to him, studying the way the baby curled against his chest, the way she calmed only in his arms. It was as if even they began to realize the truth, that she had chosen him above all. When the fire burned low, the shorter woman finally spoke, her voice heavy. "You should know what this choice means, human. More hunters will come, greater than before. War will follow you wherever you go. You cannot live a simple life now." Daniel stroked the child's small head, his voice calm. "I lost my simple life the moment I pulled her from the river. I will not run from what I already carry." The taller woman studied him, then nodded. "So be it, human. Then you are no longer only a protector. You are her father now." The words struck deep. Into Daniel's chest he looked down at the baby, her golden eyes blinking sleepily up at him. Her tiny hand gripped his shirt as if she had always belonged there. A warmth spread through him, steady and unshakable. Yes, father. That was who he was now. The fire burned through the night, and for the first time since this began, Daniel allowed himself to dream. He dreamed of teaching the child to walk in the forest, to laugh by the fire, to grow strong and free. He dreamed of protecting her not just for survival, but so she could have a future brighter than the stars. It was a dangerous dream, but it filled him with hope, stronger than fear. At dawn, the women prepared to leave. The shorter one said, "We cannot remain here. We must draw their attention away from you, but they will return, and when they do, you must be ready." Daniel nodded, his rifle resting on his shoulder. "I'll be ready." The taller woman stepped close, placing her hand on the baby's head gently. "She carries the blood of our people, but also the bond of yours. Raise her well, human, and perhaps she will one day unite more than one world." Daniel held the child tighter, her glow warming his chest. He looked the warrior in the eyes, his voice firm. I don't care about thrones or wars. I care about her. She will grow with love, not just duty. The taller woman studied him, then smiled faintly for the first time. Perhaps that is what she needs most. The women left, vanishing into the snowy trees, their silver armor shining faintly before disappearing into the distance. Daniel stood at the cave entrance, the baby in his arms, watching the forest stretch before him. The world was no longer the same. He knew enemies would return. He knew blood would spill again. But he also knew one truth, unshakable and eternal. He was no longer just a man living alone in the woods. He was a father. And no matter what storm came, no matter how many enemies rose against him, he would fight, bleed, and even die before letting them touch her. The baby looked up at him then, smiling faintly, her glow brighter than the morning sun. And Daniel whispered the vow that had already taken root in his heart. I promise you, little one, you will never be alone again. The forest carried. His words away, the fire crackled, and in the silence of dawn, a new family was born.